tutors, how are you guys? This is what we did this week in my class and some things that I wanted to do that we didn't get to. So week 21, cycle 3, classical conversations. Let's get started with math. So we have the associative law for addition states and the associative law for multiplication states. We did the song Do Lord, O Lord, which I'll sing for you in a second. We used magnetiles, which my children have taken back, but I had each magnetile had a different symbol, so the open parenthesis sign, A plus B, and I had my class assemble them, and then we started at the beginning of the line, and we all had to point to it and run down the line as we sang it, and so that's how we practiced this. Was assembling the magnetiles with the different pieces and then making sure we touched it and sang the song while we touched it. And so this is how the song went. The associative law for addition states, open parentheses, A plus B, close parentheses, plus C equals A plus, open parentheses, B plus C, close parentheses. The associative law for multiplication states, open parentheses, A times B, close parentheses, times C equals A times, open parentheses, B times C, close parentheses. Now, what I also did in the beginning, when we were having each kid go through and touch and assemble things, I had the rest of the kids dancing in the front, and so when we say open parentheses, they did an open jumping jack, and then they closed jumping jacks when we did close parentheses, and they like doing that too. So we had dancers, we had pointers, but by the end of it, they all just wanted to point to the different magnetiles, and they enjoyed that a lot more. So we did that. For geography, the Eastern Woodlands, Plains, Plateau, Northwest Coast, California, Great Basin, and Southwest, which are all the Native American regions. What we did was I had this fun little map to help the parents find where we needed to have the kids draw the outlines on the big laminated maps that we have in our classroom. And so just having it outlined here was just easier to see visually. And it also allowed us to be able to have everybody point to the same thing when we were talking about the territories together. So this is how our song goes, and this is our map. Let's see if I can do this together with you here. And again, our song is Colors of the Wind. What are Native American regions? Native American regions are Eastern Woodlands, Plains, Plateau, Northwest Coast, California, Great Basin, and Southwest. What are Native American regions? Native American regions are Eastern Woodlands, Plains, Plateau, Northwest Coast, California, Great Basin, and Southwest. And that is our geography. And believe it or not, that whole section of time is to kind of find them, outline them on the map, and then point to them and sing. For history, we are doing Tell Me About U.S. Astronauts in 1969. U.S. astronauts Neil Armstrong and Edwin Aldrin were the first men to walk on the moon. The signs that we did for this are in 1969, U.S. astronauts, and then we did N.A. for Neil Armstrong, and just to make it a little bit fancier, we did Neil Armstrong pointed to our arm, and Edwin Aldrin were the first. We did 1. Men, we take our hand as a 5 and put it to our forehead and then to our chest for men. And for Walk on the Moon, we made a moon with our hand here and then just made this kind of look like it's walking in zero gravity here. So in 1969, U.S. astronauts Neil Armstrong and Edwin Aldrin were the first men to walk on the moon. And that was what we did for history. So we practiced it a couple of times with the signs. We listened to the song, we sing it with the song, and my kids really enjoy wacky words and just finding my mistakes. And so, for example, I'll say in 1969, U.S. aquanauts, and they're like, aquanauts? It's not aquanauts, it's astronauts. And I'm like, oh, okay, you're right. So in 1969, U.S. astronauts, Neil Headstrong. And they're like, Headstrong? Not Headstrong, it's Armstrong. And so I do this, and we just keep practicing it as I go along, and the kids really like it. And each time we get a little bit further, so we keep repeating the sentence until we get to the end when I say it completely correct and get a round of applause because I finally did it right. And the kids really enjoyed that. So for instead of Aldrin, I did Archibald. Instead of first, I did fast. Instead of walk, I did dance, twirl, skip, and sing. And instead of moon, I did balloon. And so we finally got it right. And the kids really enjoy that. For science, we are doing what does the theory of evolution rely on? And the theory of evolution relies on this belief that life began as a chance combination of non-living things. And so what we did for this is the multiple times that we sang it, after we practiced it and learned it, was I had the kids lay on the floor for the first round. And then the second round, I had everybody slithering on the floor. And then the next one, we had they crawled around our table because we have a table, so they went around the table. And then they had to waddle around the table, so they were kind of like crouched around the table. And then they were able to do a bear crawl around the table. And then they were able to kind of put their heads up and walk around the table. And then till the final round, they were able to walk on it. So kind of just showing evolution, sort of. In our evolution and our walking for this lesson, or for this part of memorizing. The song we did was Three Blind Mice, and it went like this. What does the theory of evolution rely on? The theory of evolution relies on the belief that life began as a chance combination of non-living things. So my class liked that. Next is English, and that's sentence parts, subordinate clause. And a subordinate clause, also known as a dependent clause, does not express a complete thought and cannot stand alone. And we are singing that as a part of a song that we've been doing the last 3 weeks, starting with week 19, which we did a clause. Last week, which was an independent clause, and this week is a subordinate clause, and this tune is You Better Watch Out. And one of the things that we did was I had the kids do Ring Around the Rosie as we sang the song, and for a complete thought and cannot stand alone, when we said cannot stand alone, everybody had to fall down to the floor. And then we got up and then we did the song again. So they enjoyed that, and it ended up being enough to keep their attention to go over this part of memory work. But this is how the song goes. A clause is a group of words that contain both a subject and a verb. There are two types of clauses. An independent clause expresses a complete thought like a sentence. This is an independent clause. A subordinate clause, also known as a dependent clause, does not express a complete thought and cannot stand alone. Oh, a clause is a group of words that contain both a subject and a verb. There are two types of clauses. And that is English. Then we moved on to Latin. And for Latin, it's qui nomen erat Johannes. And it means whose name was John. For our signs, we're doing for qui nomen, it's we're doing name, the sign for name. So we're taking our two fingers like this, our pointer and middle finger, and then we're gonna just tap them together. Whose name? We've been doing was for a long time now, but just in case you need a reminder, it's putting our pointer finger up to our lips and almost going like shh. And then for Johannes, we're just doing a J. Her name was John. So, qui nomen erat Johannes. And what we did to work on this is I brought in a rope. You could also use tape. And I had one side as Latin and one side as English. And I just had them stand on the middle of the line. And if I said something in Latin, they hopped to the Latin side. If I said something in English, they stepped to the English side. And we just kind of hopped back and forth while we practiced the verse a couple times. And timeline this week, I had hid the cards around the room. I had the kids find the cards. And as I was teaching the different ones, so I started with World War II and President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Whoever had that card got to come up to the front of the room in front of everybody, hold up their card as we taught the signs. And then I had them, when we finally sang the whole song through, the kids that wanted to do the signs would do the sign for their cards. The ones that felt more comfortable just holding up their card would hold up their card. And the kids like showing their parents or pretending like they're teaching their parents. And so this is just a fun thing that my class likes to do. And so these are the signs that we're doing this week. So for World War II and President FDR, we're doing WW2 for World War II, and Franklin D. Roosevelt, we're just doing FDR, the sign, the ASL letters FDR. So World War II and Franklin D. Roosevelt. For Stalin of the USSR and the Katan Massacre, Stalin, we're doing his mustache. For the Katan Massacre, we're taking our hand and taking our pointer finger going under as if we're stabbing somebody. And to show a lot of people died, we're taking all of our fingers and kind of going like that. So Stalin of the USSR and the Katan Massacre. The United Nations forms, we're doing the sign for United. So we're just taking our two OKs and going up like that for United. The Cold War. Cold, we're just going to do kind of a sign for cold. Brr. And war, our sign for war. Gandhi and India's independence. For Gandhi, we're doing a G. India, we're going to point to our forehead. And then for independence, we're taking our hands and just doing this as a sign of liberation. So Gandhi and India's independence. For Jewish state established, we are going to our chin and doing almost a long beard, if you will. And state established, we're taking one fist like this, and then taking our other fist with our pinky side down and kind of tapping it on the top of our other fist. So Jewish state established. And Mao and communist victory in China, we're going to do an M for Mao and then do the communist salute from there for victory in China. And that is our timeline. This week we also did, for our math science piece, we talked about combinations being a sequence of outcomes where order doesn't matter. And then we also did Debussy for orchestra. So it was a pretty awesome way to round out the day. And I hope this helps you, and I hope you have a great week 21, and we'll see you next week.